reporting on the games you love by people who love to game. The MMO Reporter Network.
Let's quickly run through introductions again. My name is Leo Tan. I'm Digital Communications Manager.
I'm Rick Heaton, Community Manager.
I'm Jeff Libby, Senior Content Designer.
Aaron Campbell, Executive Producer.
Ryan Penk, Content Designer.
Jeff Siadek, Senior Producer.
Matt Zimmitti, Lead Systems Designer.
And Buddy Hutton changed the microphone. Thank you very much, Buddy.
Life changer!
we have a bajillion people in the room today because we have a lot of things to show you. Some housekeeping before we go. Please do feel free to take screenshots and video. We will be taking screenshots on our end as well, so you can get some native screenshots. We've turned the brightness way up, though, in order for you to see, because Twitch makes things a little bit darker. So you can choose between the Twitch screenshots or brightest screenshots. And we may fiddle with the settings a little bit there. Also, as a disclaimer, we are on the beta server. It fell down a couple of times yesterday during rehearsals, so you may see a bit of that, but we'll just get back online as quickly as we can. Cool.
Is Carrie going to accept that group invite?
We can't invite Carrie because she didn't actually complete the intro. We sort of dragged her kicking and screaming.
Gotcha. All right.
Oh, okay. So we'll kind of drag her around.
Just put me on follow, Carrie.
Yeah. So yeah, if you have any questions, please do drop them into the Twitch chat, and we will answer them. I'll kind of drop them in and have the devs answer them when seems like an appropriate time. And also at the very end, there'll be time for questions. So don't worry if I miss it as we go along. Cool. So I guess let's kick off.
Sure. So this is Aaron. So we're kicking off update 14 here. This is our introduction to Gondor. We're traveling through the Paths of the Dead. We're heading into West Gondor, which is not to be confused with Far Gondor, which is west of West Gondor, or Central Gondor, which is east of us. So essentially, we're going to Belfalas, Lamedon. We're going to the Stone of Eric. We're going to Dol Amroth. This is a very cool area. And it's our first ocean area as well. So we're really getting out to the sea, seagulls and the whole thing. We're continuing the story, and we're opening Volume 4 of the epic book. So it's a brand new epic story, very exciting there. We worked through that story, a confrontation with Sauron for a long time, and now we have a brand new heroic story to tell. And I think that's the arc I want to give here right now. Let's hand this off to Jeff and talk about the epic.
Jeff's about to jump out of his chair.
He is about to jump out of his chair.
Hi, everybody! I am so super excited because Lord of the Rings games never get to Gondor. Like this is just phenomenal because I've been playing Lord of the Rings games since I was a little kid, and a lot of them start with events in Fellowship of the Ring, and very, very rarely get this far into the story. So this is super exciting. This is the start of Volume 4, The Strength of Sauron, which is going to concern all things with our big bad, with Sauron, the great enemy. As Aaron mentioned, we sort of wrapped up Saruman in our last update, and where we are in the timeline is Pippin has looked into the Palantir, and Sauron is very, very concerned about this hobbit that possibly has the One Ring. So he has dispatched his Nazgul far and wide looking for this hobbit. And a Nazgul was seen over Meduseld. It hovered over the roof of Theoden King's Great Hall, and it is now March 9th of 3019 of the Third Age, which means that as Volume 4 begins, Aragorn has entered the Paths of the Dead, and as players, we now sort of don't know what has happened to Aragorn. So when this book begins, we go to Dunharrow and meet with Éowyn, who is concerned about Aragorn and the people that he took with him into the Paths of the Dead, and we are going to follow him and find out what happened. And I guess we can talk about Gondor when we get successfully through the Paths of the Dead.
Yep.
So do we want to run in?
Yep. We're in. I was just making sure Carrie caught up with us.
Now there are a few interesting story things about the Paths of the Dead. A few challenges that we faced when it came time to design this space, because everyone's impression of the Paths are of this is a very, very spooky, forbidden. Like this is a place where you do not want to go. Even Aragorn doesn't really want to go in here, and the Grey Company don't want to go in here. Legolas and Gimli don't want to go in here. But they have to, because this is there was a sort of some advice that was given to Elrond by Galadriel in earlier books of the epic, in which Aragorn is told to remember the Paths of the Dead. So he thinks that this is going to be the quickest way to get where he needs to go, and this is going to turn out to be correct. But no one wants to come here. Since we need to come into this forbidding place after Aragorn, because we're not going to go with him, because that's pretty thoroughly described in the books. Once he goes through, doesn't the army of the dead follow Aragorn and the Grey Company? So wouldn't the Paths of the Dead be empty? For our purposes, that's not going to work, because we expect the whole Paths of the Dead experience, with spooky specters and a grim, foreboding environment. So we came up with a story conceit where not every one of the Oathbreakers follows Aragorn. What this means is that, and we go into more detail over the course of the epic book. What this means is when Aragorn goes into the Paths of the Dead, he basically offers them a choice. He says, if you fulfill the oath that you swore to Isildur back in the day, then you will be able to find your eternal rest. Come fight for me. You have to fight against Sauron, who you swore you would fight against and did not, in order to fulfill your oath. If you do not, you're never going to get this. The Oathbreakers that do choose to follow Aragorn, become the army of the dead and will be relevant later on in the story. Those who do not, the idea is that they become the ruthless dead. These are the unredeemable dead. These are the ones that did not believe Aragorn, or that bore such hatred for Isildur and any of his descendants, that they will not follow Aragorn, which means that these are the guys that are still in the Paths of the Dead when our players go through. So it's sort of an interesting idea too, because this was not a gap, but this was an unexplored sort of concept in the book. Just because, what did all of the Oathbreakers follow Aragorn? Like, if they hate the living so much, maybe they don't trust him. Maybe they don't trust the descendant of the guy that cursed them to this existence. Maybe some of them want to throw their lot in with Sauron. So I thought that was an interesting thing to explore and develop. And it also means that we can have ghosts in here.
Bonus.
Seems important.
One more interesting thing to say about the Paths of the Dead in the epic story is that back in the early days of Shadows of Angmar, the way that the flow of the epic story went was you would have often soloable content, like each chapter of the epic story was pretty much doable by solo players until you hit the final chapter, at which point you would have a larger instanced experience which would require a fellowship to complete. We went away from that due to player feedback as we went along, because many people didn't like playing through a solo experience and then being unable to finish it. So they would end up having the final chapter of a lot of the epic books still in their quest logs, unable to find a convenient time to complete it with other people. So we made most of the epic soloable. For Volume 4, we're trying a new thing where some of the instances over the course of the epic story this time around will have an option to complete it complete it solo, or to enter it with a fellowship, which changes the monster spawns, changes the boss encounter, makes it more appropriate for a fellowship group. So if you want, you can still play through it all soloable, and I think that a lot of people will. But if you want kind of the nostalgic experience of going in with like a whole group, like a lot of us did back in the day, then you can do that. So that's kind of an exciting thing that I'm pretty proud of. So now we've successfully passed through the Paths of the Dead, and we are now in Western Gondor.
We are choosing not to go with the nighttime scheme out here, so we're going to brighten it up a bit. Give us a second to bring in the daylight.
Is it 0.5?
Yep.
0.5 is new.
0.5.
Yep, you got it.
Wow.
All the tricks.
At least it's not
God mode, literally God mode.
All right, it's daytime.
Drop into Blackroot Vale? Or?
Yeah, I'll take over. The first area proper of Western Gondor is Blackroot Vale. You might remember this from earlier in the epic. I believe it was in Edhelion that we first visited the Stone of Eric. And since that time, the Vale has actually become quite deforested, and it's just sort of evolved from that period of time since Isildur first cursed the Oathbreakers. Different from what we experienced in the rest of the game, this area has more of like a Mediterranean climate, and even though Gondor itself is largely in decline, we still sort of see like the splendor of the various cities in this area. Blackroot Vale itself, though, is much more of a village-based area, and we don't really see the huge Gondorian architecture until later in the region. And we should be coming up on an overlook where you can see the Stone of Eric soon.
Right there in the distance.
Yep, that big black orb up on the hill that was originally brought by Isildur. And then, if we keep following the path down to the east, we'll see our first Gondorian settlement, which is called Morlad. And it's a bit of a hike from the Dark Door because the people don't really want to be anywhere near that.
Yeah, the city should be right around the corner.
Yep.
To the right.
Some pro driving from Rick Heaton here.
They give me numbers. That's all they give me. Go to this number.
All right, we're coming up on it now, and you found a mountain lion.
Technically, I think you found it.
That's true. So Morlad's banners clearly depict the Stone of Eric itself, and obviously the people of this vale have a lot of history with the stone, though a lot of them are kind of too afraid to go anywhere near the Hill of Eric because it's always been a place of just huge unease and terror. And
It's said that the dead gather there to dance on moonless nights.
Ooh. So where everything in Rohan was like more spread out for their settlements, you'll notice that Morlad is like super crunched in, much more vertical in nature. The roads are winding, and near the top of the settlement, you'll actually see some of the old Gondorian stone architecture, but we don't really see that prominently in full cities until later. If you cut up that way. Yep. Look left. and it should just be like keep going up.
So Ryan is instructing me to follow the path turn by turn. Take the only direction you can take, then go the only other direction you can take.
And now a right.
All right.
And now the only direction you can take. So here's some of that stone architecture of an old Gondorian structure, but it isn't really the main building structure of this village. And you get a great view out of the vale itself from here. And the focus on Blackroot Vale is mainly on the aftermath of Aragorn's passing with the army of the dead, and sort of what occurs now that the ruthless dead exist and are still haunting the Vale after Aragorn's passed. Let's see.
Everybody go to the next?
Yeah, I think so.
Next.
Which one should we have for that? I forget where we were going first.
Calembel.
All right. So now we're at Calembel in Lamedon. Calembel is important in the story in that Aragorn and the army of the dead actually passed directly through here and camp here at one point. So since he's already passed at this point, a lot of the people who have come out of hiding are now just sort of dealing with what they experienced and not really knowing what to make of it other than being utterly horrified.
So the dead camp.
Yep, Aragorn, when he passed down through Blackroot Vale and Lamedon before going east, he camped out in Calembel, and I think the only person who was still outside was some sort of steward or leader of Calembel.
At least they don't eat much.
Yeah. It's like it's a short stop.
Beautiful city.
So thankfully for our purposes, the people have largely come out of hiding at this point, but when Aragorn was here, they were all inside and terrified. And Lamedon is actually the first area where we encounter the Corsairs, but they've actually made landfall further south in Belfalas, which we'll talk more about later.
The Corsairs of Umbar.
New monster type, new appearances, very cool.
Right, we'll pop over to Tadrent.
Actually, probably
And
just
if we
walk
go-
right out, and we can see.
Yeah, we might be able
That's a
to
good view.
get a view of the beacon too.
So here in the distance, we have the beacons of Gondor. And they are lit.
Yeah, so what the lighting of the South Beacons means is that since all of Sauron's forces are poised to crush Gondor, especially Minas Tirith, the South Beacons have been lit to summon all of the lords of Gondor to ride with as many troops as they can to Minas Tirith. So that's where Imrahil, the prince of Dol Amroth, has already gone. He's brought as many of his lords and also his Swan Knights, which are sort of his elite fighting force. They have ridden to Minas Tirith. What this means, though, and this is an interesting thing, since the South Beacon, everyone knows that the South Beacon, that these beacons are being used to summon fighting men to Minas Tirith. The trouble is that the Corsairs of Umbar know this also. So Umbar has a long history of tangling with Gondor. They've been raiding the Corsairs have been raiding the coasts for like thousands of years, or 8,000 years. And since the beacons are lit and many of the fighting men have gone to Minas Tirith, the Corsairs know that this is their chance to attack a relatively undefended stretch of Gondor. And so that's why Lamedon and Belfalas are particularly at threat.
Now here we have a close-up, or we did have a close-up of one of the beacons.
Back to where we were supposed to go.
Yeah. This is Tadrent, which is one of the smaller but still stone-built Gondor towns in Belfalas. It's a farming village, and even though it has the stone architecture, you can still see like a very, very villagey feel with little houses. They just have more of a border than we were used to in Blackroot Vale. And a lot of the swan motifs with the wings are noticeable on the stonework. And then in the distance up ahead, you can see I think that's the last south beacon, which is near Dol Amroth itself.
We got new technology, didn't we, to be able to display things from farther away?
Oh, yeah.
Like, because I know Eric and also the beacons, I think, have this new tech applied to them so that we can see them from farther away, because that is a pretty awesome view.
Yeah, we can see things from a pretty tremendous distance now. I think there's a few spots in western Gondor where you can actually see, I think, 3 of the beacons at the same time.
Ready for Edhelion?
We could go back to the beacon.
Want to go back to the beacon?
Yeah, because we go that one. If we go up on this beacon here, we actually get a great view of both Edhelion, the ancient elf harbor, and Dol Amroth, which is out in the distance.
It's a rainy day, but
But still beautiful.
you never know when you go into Middle Earth what the weather's going to be like.
This is true.
So out there, that's Dol Amroth, the city of the prince, and as Jeff mentioned, Prince Imrahil has already gone off to Minas Tirith, but it's left in, I think, Lothiriel's
Yeah,
stead?
his daughter Letheriel.
To your left.
More left.
Run down.
Down at the beach, to the left.
There we go.
And down... And I'll wait for the video to catch up.
No, your audio goes with
Oh,
it.
okay.
Yeah. Your audio's.
So down here we have Edhelion, which we can actually take a closer look at in a little bit, and we can see that the Corsair ships are docked in the harbor there, and the Corsairs are kind of just going crazy trying to pillage Edhelion, but there's not really much left, I recall.
Yeah, Edhelion has been abandoned for 1,000 years, but what it was during its height, it was essentially the southern haven from which the elves departed Middle-earth. Now that it has been abandoned, they pretty much leave from Mithlond, the Grey Havens, to the north. But this is still a place of cultural and historical significance to them. The Corsairs have taken it as a convenient place for their beachhead, and they are from this spot. They are moving out overland to pillage.
I think we could port to Edhelion proper now. So here's Edhelion close up, and we should soon be seeing some of the Corsairs because they're pretty frantically pillaging Edhelion. We get if we can get a zoom of one of those at one point.
Cool new appearances for the Corsairs.
Come back.
That guy is pretty frantic. I'll give him points.
No, we're over here.
He's in a Corsair frenzy. No, really, come right in. Oh, now I got everybody. There we go.
All right, so here are the Corsairs, and
We just smite one of them down.
Yeah, go take one down. But you can't do that.
and they do have unique weapons. We just haven't hooked them up yet, I believe.
Yeah, we're still in beta.
Yep.
Work in progress.
Yep. And if we go out onto one of the wrecked docks out there, we can get a closer look at one of the Corsair ships We have ones with their sails both furled and unfurled.
Unpopular guy.
They don't take too kindly to people trying to steal their ship.
You'd think they would be more understanding, given that their entire life revolves around stealing stuff from other people.
No, but for them it's okay.
Ah, I see.
Yeah, so purple is definitely the color of the Corsairs of Umbar.
I've made friends. I'm just going to point out that Carrie's not helping much.
We haven't given her any weapons, I think. This is probably our fault.
She's wearing purple.
Yeah.
She's with Umbar.
Oh no!
They don't
That
know the
explains a
difference.
lot.
So let's see. Actually, did we keep the teleport to the top of that tower over there?
Well, I think we're running down on time, so why don't we head to
Oh,
Dol
okay.
Amroth?
Yeah, we should head to Dol Amroth then.
Just gonna grab.
You might know more about Dol Amroth than me.
I can talk about politics.
That works. It's like the plan.
Was at the end of your cheat sheet.
We're going to Dol Amroth now.
Yep.
And despite her questionable usefulness in combat, let me grab Carrie real quick. All right.
So this is Dol Amroth, the city of the prince. This is where Imrahil lives when it's during peacetime. Lots of politics going on in Dol Amroth. Imrahil is the brother-in-law of Denethor, the ruling steward of Minas Tirith. And what that means is that he is Boromir and Faramir's uncle. And it's his duty to rule if anything happens to the steward. So keep an eye on Denethor in future updates. Currently, his daughter Lothiriel, who is 20 years old, is in charge in his absence. He went to Minas Tirith with his sons, who we cannot actually name because their names are only included in other sources than Lord of the Rings. But Lothiriel is in charge. In Dol Amroth, the nobility of Dol Amroth has a little elvish blood from back in the day, in the days of Amroth of Lorien. It's their custom that women can rule in Dol Amroth, but the people are not altogether pleased about it. So there is a fair amount of tension between Lothiriel and the people as the Corsair threat looms on the horizon. And so quests will go into this tension to a fair degree.
We're having a small technical issue.
Part of the joys of being in beta.
So at this point in our conversation, any questions? Anything you guys want to bring up, clarify, focus on? Translate for us, oh great Leo.
We should be back in shortly. No questions.
Well,
All right.
we'll talk essences, but I don't know that we'll have a lot of time.
Ah, here we
We're gonna
go.
have a lot of time for it.
Who is the king depicted in the big stone face and golden statues? Presumably that we just saw.
Oh, congratulations! You have Mr. Libby looking at the ceiling and doing.
I'm just trying to remember who we. I'm trying to remember who the faces would be. Let me just take a look at it.
Somebody text Chris Pearson.
There you go.
Probably a. I don't know if it's Imrahil. It could be Imrahil. It could be an ancestor of his. It could be one of the. I don't think it's Amra. It looks like a man to me.
Could be Chris Pearson.
Could be Chris. Could be our world builder.
Basically, we don't know.
Could be a
The
lentil.
people in this room do not know. But we can find out and let you know later.
But in his
Well, it's
defense,
not one of the pretenders, right? It's not back from the Kinstrike.
No. It's not Castamir the Usurper. It's going to be one of the good guys.
It's not Bilbo.
It's going to be one of the good guys.
yeah, definitively not Bilbo, Leo.
I'd say Elendil would be a good guess.
Okay, Elendil. We'll go with that.
Yeah. My suspicion is that we took them from a Numenhouse. So
Sure.
Leo's very proud that he knew the name of a character. I just.
what was the character?
Bilbo.
Bilbo. Ah, yeah. Yeah, that's got to be Bilbo.
Yeah.
We have a port to the court of the prince. That'd be great to show.
It's actually the Swan Tower. Or the Swan Tower.
All right.
Yeah, this area is like the merchant center. Lots of merchants here selling everything. And some
We're
interesting
back at
things.
nighttime again.
Oh, music
Yeah.
volume is too high, apparently. We can't hear that. All right, we'll just
I can fix that really quick.
attend.
Yeah, I bet it is.
Yeah.
There we go.
We have transparent cloth.
Amazing. That's pretty sweet. It's a port city, so you've got seagulls all over the place.
You have a full-fledged wharf, a full keep just for the swan knights of the city, and then a gigantic throne room. Yeah, coming up here, you'll see the court of the prince and Prince Imrahil's throne room.
And the many faces of the king who is not Bilbo.
We don't know that for sure, but we suspect.
Let me just really put these
And here we really see that the people of Dol Amroth are really into swans and use it in almost all of their appearances, both for armor, decoration, trimmings for buildings. There's a tapestry behind you by the entrance here on the right now.
Is Dol Amroth going to be the main hub for this expansion? Or this?
I think, yeah, it is.
Yes. And also, when do we get swan hats?
Get swans.
Get any swans?
You get tons of swans.
You can get a swan pet.
All right.
Well,
Also-
actually, you can get swan armor.
It's true, actually.
Yeah,
It's
We
like
have
those are
we have
probably-
armors that you can earn
Yeah.
in Dol Amroth.
This armor right here is very similar to armor that you can obtain in game.
The hat is definitely very swan-like.
Got wings on it.
Bonus points to the first person who does a good swan song pun.
Not appropriate here. We're at the beginning of a thing, not the end of a thing.
That's true.
So, of course, update 14 also includes 5 additional levels. So you'll be leveling up from 95 to 100 with associated new trait points, new abilities to enhance your character. We have a new item system called Essences that's going to allow you to customize your gear and socket different types of abilities into that gear. So a lot coming here, a lot of different options for you.
And we decided we were definitely at a point where, we're gearing up for war, the big war at this point, and so we wanted to introduce something into the game where rather than us just hand making every single set of stats on gear, a lot of people would say I really I like this chess piece, but it really needs a little bit more of this or a little less of that. So we finally decided to put a lot of that in the hands of the players. You'll be able to craft essences, find them through certain quests, find them as drops in the world, and you'll be able to find gear that has essentially slots in it that you can put these essences in, and each different type of essence gives you a different stat. Right now there's 17 different types of essences, so they cover the core stats, like might and bite, but they go into things like critical rating, critical defense, the whole gamut. So if you really want to sit and tweak your set of armor so that it perfectly suits your needs stats-wise, you'll be able to do that. And in our first incarnation here, it's going to be a little bit of a soft launch. We want to see how people work with this item system and then give us a little bit of room to tweak. So they'll be kind of rare to find in 14. We'll get some feedback on it, and then we'll plug them into other places if people like them, and we'll work out potency and the economy of it as we move forward.
A couple of loot questions. Are there swan armor versions for medium and light armor classes as well?
Yes.
Yes. And will we have Gondor / Dol Amroth themed weapons as well?
There are new weapons. They are thematically strewn from like swan type things all the way to some stuff that is a little bit more Corsair-like. So depending on where you get it, it'll match or it'll look like you found a trophy off of someone.
And here, which is actually a connecting area between Blackroot Vale and the Havens of Belfalas, we have a 6-man fellowship area to sort of conclude some of the secondary story arcs in Gondor. This focuses largely on the Corsairs and... should I mention yours?
Yeah, let's keep that in our pocket for now.
Yeah. And it basically just ties up a story that was started in Blackroot Vale, but provides some repeatable cap-level content in addition to the endgame that we've planned out.
All right, and I think that pretty well wraps up our presentation for today. Anything we can clarify?
Yep, please ask any other questions you may have. We'll just wander around, see if see what else we have so far today.
The monsters are in the next build.
More dev secrets.
It's still raining. I don't know, just every time you play God, you make it rain.
Yeah.
He's been known to make
What's the release date ETA again? Soon. I don't think we have a. We don't have a date.
Oh, we're pretty close.
We're pretty close. Soon, very soon.
I mean, well, we can probably talk about it. You want to talk about it?
You want to talk about it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Our target is July 14th. We're going to be launching mid-month.
What will be the end content for level 100 apart from the 6-man instance you just spoke about?
All right, so we also have repeatable quests through Dol Amroth, allowing you to build your reputation with the different quarters of the city, and that's a variety of quest types and group sizes that be able to do that in. And it'll take you back to the Paths of the Dead and throughout the Gondorian region we're introducing.
And to clarify, it's an outdoor 6-man area, not a 6-man instance. I mean, if you really want to run into that pile of monsters, you can, but I don't recommend.
Well, I was going to be, discretion being the better part of valor, I was going to very discreetly walk away, but...
Get in there, he looks awesome.
Carrie decided she was going to rush forward and
go see it.
try and poke
Yeah,
us.
that dude's massive. Get in there.
Hey guys.
It's alright, you're invincible.
Ish.
Yeah, he's cool.
Yeah, these are actually placed.
He's angry.
Looks awesome.
Seems unhappy to see you.
Oh!
I say he, that's presumptuous on my part.
That is presumptuous.
Big hit.
They. Now being attacked.
Well, I'm the unredeemed dead coming after you too.
Yes.
Cool. So, if there are no more questions, or if you feel like you want to follow up, please do. You can send me an email or your local PR contact if you are from outside North America, and I will. We will have screenshots for you that we've taken throughout this to supplement your own screenshots, and those will go out after the second session, which is happening later this afternoon for us, our time. Cool. So, thank you very much, guys.
Thank you all.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks. Should I say Karen?
It's my day of the week.
That's my day of the week.